Have you ever said something in anger and regretted it 5 minutes later? Have you ever allowed one moment of frustration to ruin an entire day? Or maybe you watch your emotions take control of your decisions, your relationships, and even your peace of mind, while a part of you silently wondered, why can't I control myself? If that question has ever crossed your mind, then what you're about to hear may change the way you see yourself forever. Because according to Buddhist wisdom, your greatest enemy is not the person who criticizes you. It is not your difficult boss. It is not the unfair world. Your greatest enemy is the emotion you refuse to understand. Think about it. A few words from someone can destroy your mood. A small disappointment can steal your motivation. One negative thought can keep you awake all night. How is it possible that something so small can have so much power over your life? The Buddha taught that suffering often begins when the mind becomes a servant to emotion instead of its master. And in today's world, this problem has become more serious than ever. We live in an age where people react instantly. They react before thinking. They react before understanding. They react before becoming aware. Social media rewards outrage. News feeds amplify fear. Advertisements exploit insecurity. And millions of people spend their lives trapped inside the emotional storms they never learn how to navigate. But here's the truth most people never hear. Your emotions are not the problem. Your relationship with your emotions is the problem. This single realization can transform your entire life. Because Buddhism does not teach emotional suppression. It does not teach becoming cold, detached, or robotic. Instead, it teaches something far more powerful. It teaches emotional mastery, the ability to feel deeply without becoming controlled by what you feel, the ability to experience anger without becoming anger, to experience fear without becoming fear, to experience sadness without becoming sadness. And that is where true freedom begins. Imagine standing beside a river. The water flows continuously. Some currents are calm, some are violent, some carry leaves, some carry debris. Now imagine jumping into that river every time you see it. You would constantly be pulled away by the current. This is how most people live. Every emotion appears, and they jump into it. Anger appears. They become angry. Fear appears. They become fearful. Anxiety appears. They become anxious. They never stop to observe. They never stop to question. They simply become whatever emotion happens to visit them. But the Buddha offered another path. Instead of jumping into the river, sit beside it, observe it, watch it, understand it. Because the moment you observe an emotion, you create distance between yourself and that emotion. And within that distance lies freedom. This may sound simple, but it is one of the most powerful psychological insights ever discovered. Modern psychology now confirms what Buddhist teachings revealed more than 2,500 years ago. When we observe our emotions without immediately reacting, the emotional centers of the brain begin to calm down. Awareness creates space, and space creates choice. Without awareness, emotions control behavior. With awareness, wisdom guides behavior. The difference can determine the direction of your entire life. Consider how many life-changing mistakes happen in emotional moments. People end relationships in anger. They quit jobs in frustration. They make financial decisions out of fear. They destroy opportunities because of pride. And later, when the emotional wave passes, they wonder, what was I thinking? The reality is, they were not thinking. They were reacting. And reaction is the language of an untrained mind. The Buddha compared the untrained mind to a wild elephant. Powerful, capable, full of potential, but dangerous when left uncontrolled. A wild elephant can destroy villages. A trained elephant can build civilizations. The same is true for the human mind. An uncontrolled mind creates suffering. A disciplined mind creates peace. This is why emotional mastery is not a luxury. It is a necessity, especially in a world designed to keep you emotionally triggered. Every day, countless voices compete for your attention. They want your outrage. They want your fear. They want your insecurity. Because emotional people are easier to influence. But emotionally aware people become difficult to manipulate. And that is why emotional mastery is a form of personal power. Not power over others. Power over yourself. the highest form of power. One day, a man approached the Buddha and began insulting him. He criticized him, mocked him, tried to provoke him. Yet the Buddha remained calm. After exhausting himself, the man finally stopped. Then the Buddha asked him a simple question. If someone offers you a gift and you refuse to accept it, to whom does the gift belong? The man replied, to the person who offered it. The Buddha smiled and said, in the same way, I do not accept your anger. Think about the depth of that wisdom. Most people believe they have no choice when someone provokes them. They believe anger automatically requires anger. But the Buddha demonstrated something extraordinary. You can choose whether to receive the emotional gift being offered. You can choose whether someone else's negativity becomes your suffering. This is not weakness. It is strength. Anyone can react. Very few people can remain conscious. And consciousness is where mastery begins. The next time someone speaks harshly to you, pause. The next time frustration rises within you, pause. The next time fear begins telling stories about the future, pause. That pause may seem insignificant, but contains enormous power, because between stimulus and response lies your freedom. And the stronger that pause becomes, the stronger you become. Most people spend years trying to control the world around them. They try to control circumstances. They try to control people. They try to control outcomes. Yet the Buddha taught that lasting peace begins when you learn to control what happens within, not because the outer world becomes easier, but because your inner world becomes stronger. And when your inner world becomes stronger, life's challenges lose their ability to dominate you. So what exactly transforms a simple emotion into lasting suffering? Why can one person experience anger and recover within minutes, while another carries that same anger for days, weeks, or even years? The answer lies in a truth that most people never realize. The emotion itself is rarely the real problem. The attachment to the emotion is. According to Buddhist wisdom, suffering grows when we cling to our emotional experiences. An event happens, an emotion appears, and instead of allowing it to pass naturally, we grab onto it. We replay it. We analyze it. We relive it again and again and again. Imagine holding a burning coal in your hand. The pain continues not because the coal exists. The pain continues because you refuse to let go. This is exactly how emotional suffering works. Someone insults you. The moment passes, but then your mind keeps repeating it. You replay the conversation. You imagine what you should have said. You create new arguments inside your head. Hours later, the person may have forgotten the entire situation, yet you are still suffering, not because of what happened, but because you are carrying it. The Buddha understood something profound about the human mind. He saw that people often suffer more from their thoughts about reality than from reality itself. Think about anxiety. Most anxiety is not happening in the present moment. It is happening inside imagined futures. A person worries about tomorrow, then next week, then next year. Their body reacts as if danger is already here. Their heart races, their muscles tighten, their sleep disappears. Yet nothing has actually happened. The mind creates a future problem and then suffers from its own creation. This is why the Buddha repeatedly encouraged awareness of the present moment, not because the present moment is magically perfect, but because reality is usually far less frightening than the stories we create about it. Right now, as you listen to these words, notice something. Take a moment and observe your surroundings. Notice your breathing. Notice the space around you. Notice the sounds you can hear. For this brief moment, where is your anxiety? Where is yesterday's regret? Where is tomorrow's fear? Most of it exists only when the mind leaves the present. This does not mean challenges disappear. It means clarity appears. And clarity changes everything, because a clear mind responds. A confused mind reacts. The difference is enormous. Imagine two people caught in the same storm. One person panics. The other remains calm. The storm is identical. The circumstances are identical, but their internal experience is completely different. One suffers twice, first from the storm, then from their resistance to the storm. The other simply faces reality as it is. This is emotional mastery, not controlling life, Controlling your relationship with life. One of the greatest misconceptions about strength is the belief that strong people never feel emotional pain. The Buddha taught the opposite. Strong people feel everything. They simply do not become prisoners of what they feel. They experience sadness, but they do not build a home inside sadness. They experience anger, but they do not feed it. They experience fear, but they do not surrender their lives to it. This distinction changes everything, because many people spend years fighting emotions. They say, I shouldn't feel angry. I shouldn't feel anxious. I shouldn't feel sad. But fighting emotions often strengthens them. What you resist tends to persist. The Buddhist path teaches observation rather than resistance, acceptance rather than denial, awareness rather than avoidance. Imagine dark clouds moving across the sky. Do you fight the clouds? Do you chase them away? Of course not. You simply watch them pass. Emotions are the same. Every feeling that arises eventually fades. Every emotion is temporary. Every emotional storm eventually ends. Yet when emotions appear, people often behave as if they will last forever. A painful moment arrives, and the mind whispers, this is how life will always be. But history proves otherwise. Think about the hardest day of your life, the day you thought you would never recover, the day you believed the pain would never end. Yet here you are, still moving forward, still growing, still breathing. The emotion passed, just as every emotion eventually passes. The Buddha called this principle impermanence. Everything changes, everything moves, nothing remains fixed forever. And when you deeply understand impermanence, your relationship with emotions transforms. You stop treating temporary feelings as permanent truths. You stop making life-changing decisions based on passing emotional weather. You stop believing every thought that enters your mind. This is where true mental freedom begins. Most people assume their thoughts are facts, but thoughts are often just mental events. Nothing more. Consider this. Have you ever worried about something that never happened? Have you ever feared a future that never arrived? Have you ever believed a negative thought that later proved completely false? Of course you have. Everyone has, which means an important question must be asked. If some thoughts are unreliable, why trust all of them? The Buddha encouraged people to become observers of thought rather than servants of thought, to notice the voice inside the mind without automatically obeying it. This skill alone can transform a person's life. Because once you realize you are not every thought you think, you begin to reclaim your freedom. A negative thought appears. Instead of following it, you observe it. An angry impulse arises. Instead of acting on it, you observe it. Fear knocks at the door. Instead of surrendering immediately, you observe it. And in that observation, something remarkable happens. The emotion begins losing power. Not instantly, not magically, but gradually, consistently, like a fire that weakens when fuel is removed. Most emotional suffering survives because we keep feeding it. We feed anger with more angry thoughts. We feed fear with more fearful stories. We feed anxiety with endless mental rehearsals of disaster. But when awareness enters the picture, the feeding stops. And when the feeding stops, the suffering begins to fade. This is why meditation became such an important part of Buddhist practice. Not as an escape from reality, but as training for reality. Meditation teaches the mind to remain steady when emotions arise, to remain present when discomfort appears, to remain conscious when the world tries to pull attention in 1,000 different directions. And in the modern world, this skill may be more valuable than ever before, because today distractions are endless, noise is constant, and emotional manipulation is everywhere. The person who can remain calm while others panic gains an extraordinary advantage. The person who can think clearly while others react emotionally becomes difficult to defeat. The person who masters their emotions begins mastering their life. But there is one final lesson that may be the most important of all. A lesson that separates temporary emotional control from genuine inner peace. There is one final truth that the Buddha wanted people to understand. A truth so powerful that it can completely transform the way you experience life. Most people spend their entire lives trying to control external circumstances. They believe, if people treated me better, I would be happy. If I had more money, I would feel secure. If life became easier, I would finally have peace. But the Buddha saw a deeper reality. Peace does not come from controlling the world. Peace comes from no longer allowing the world to control you. Read that again. Because this single idea separates temporary happiness from lasting inner freedom, the world will always change. People will disappoint you. Plans will fail. Unexpected problems will appear. No one escapes this reality. Not the rich, not the successful, not the powerful, not even the wisest among us. The question is not whether challenges will come. The question is, who will you become when they arrive? Will you become the victim of every emotional storm, or will you become the calm center within the storm? This is the heart of Buddhist wisdom. The goal is not to create a perfect life. The goal is to develop a mind that remains steady regardless of life's imperfections. Imagine a mountain. Seasons change around it. Rain falls. Snow arrives. Winds strike its surface. Storms come and go. Yet the mountain remains. Strong, grounded, unshaken. The Buddha taught that your mind can become like that mountain. Not because difficulties disappear, but because your foundation becomes stronger than your difficulties. And this brings us to one of the most powerful realizations a person can ever have. You are not your emotions. You are the awareness observing them. Think about that carefully. When anger appears, there is something within you that notices the anger. When fear appears, there is something within you that notices the fear. When sadness appears, there is something within you that notices the sadness. That observer is deeper than any emotion. It remains present while emotions come and go. And the more connected you become to that awareness, the less control emotions have over your life. This is why emotionally strong people are not emotionless. They simply understand that emotions are visitors, not rulers. Visitors come. Visitors stay for a while. Visitors leave. But the house remains. Your awareness is that house. And when you remember this truth, something extraordinary begins to happen. Life stops feeling like a battlefield. You no longer need to win every argument. You no longer need everyone's approval. You no longer need to react to every criticism. You no longer need to prove your worth to people who cannot see your value, because your peace is no longer dependent on external validation. It comes from within, and this is where true confidence is born. Not the confidence that comes from superiority, not the confidence that comes from status, but the quiet confidence that comes from self-mastery, the confidence of knowing, I can handle whatever life brings. Because emotional mastery is not about controlling the future. It is about trusting your ability to meet the future with wisdom. Every challenge becomes a teacher. Every setback becomes training. Every disappointment becomes an opportunity to grow stronger. This perspective changes everything. The obstacle becomes a path. The struggle becomes a lesson. The pain becomes a source of wisdom. This does not mean suffering is enjoyable. It means suffering no longer becomes meaningless. The Buddha understood that every human being will experience pain, but not every human being will transform that pain into wisdom. That choice belongs to each of us. And perhaps this is why so many people remain trapped. They wait for life to change before they change. They wait for perfect conditions. They wait for motivation. They wait for confidence. They wait for certainty. Meanwhile, years pass. Opportunities disappear. Dreams fade. Potential remains unused. But the Buddha's message was different. Begin now, not when life becomes easier, not when circumstances improve. Now, because the present moment is the only place transformation can occur. Yesterday cannot be changed. Tomorrow does not yet exist. This moment is where your power lives. This moment is where awareness begins. This moment is where emotional mastery begins. Imagine what your life would look like 1 year from now if you practice this wisdom every day. Imagine responding instead of reacting. Imagine remaining calm when others lose control. Imagine maintaining clarity when others panic. Imagine no longer being a prisoner of fear, anger, anxiety, or external validation. How many opportunities would open? How many relationships would improve? How much peace would enter your life? The answer is simple. More than you can currently imagine, because the quality of your life is deeply connected to the quality of your mind. Master your mind, and you begin mastering your life. Allow your emotions to control you, and they will quietly control your future. This is why emotional mastery is not merely self-improvement. It is self-liberation. The freedom to live consciously. The freedom to choose wisdom over impulse. The freedom to create peace within yourself regardless of what happens around you. And perhaps that is the greatest victory any human being can achieve. Not conquering the world, but conquering the chaos within. As the Buddha taught, thousands may be defeated in battle, but the greatest victory belongs to the one who conquers themselves. So today, make a decision, not to suppress your emotions, not to fear them, not to run from them, but to understand them, observe them, learn from them, master them. Because when you master your emotions before they control you, you unlock a level of peace, strength, and freedom that most people spend their entire lives searching for. And that journey begins with a single moment of awareness, a single conscious breath, a single decision to wake up, right here, right now, if this wisdom resonated with you. Take a moment to reflect on the lesson that impacted you the most. And if you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss future teachings on Buddhist wisdom, mental strength, self-mastery, and inner peace. Thank you for being part of this journey. Welcome to Wisdom Hub Buddha. Until next time, stay mindful, stay strong, and remember, your emotions are powerful servants, but dangerous masters. Master them before they master you.